All right, what's up, guys? Talking GT4's for a little bit. This is really just me doing 2 laps at at Road Atlanta with each car. A lot of that is just because I'm comfortable with the track, and it's got curbs, it's got some straightaways, it's got some slow speed stuff. So it would be a good way to highlight some of the good things and bad things about each car. So up first is the Aston. It's not. I don't know. It's not a bad car by any means. It's a nimble car. So in slow speed stuff, it seems to rotate really well. My goal here is not to set lap times. Like I said, I did 2 laps on each car. And my goal is to smash these curbs, kind of throw the car into certain corners and see how it reacts so you guys can see it. One reason I would not recommend this car for a single monitor driver is this eats up a lot. This A-pillar here eats up a lot of real estate, and it's not too bad on triples. Can't see it, but you know, you got the whole left-hand window to look out of. But I definitely was thinking about that. If you're in single monitor, I don't know if I would choose the Aston just because of how much real estate this chews up. Of course, you can do field of view changes, so it's not the end of the world, but just something to keep in mind. Alright, so outside of that, yeah, you see the back end kind of kick out there. This is also cold tires on a, car that I haven't drove in a while, so it's not bad. I'm just trying to show the things that can happen. This car does like to kick out the ass end a little bit here and there, but that's good. It helps it rotate really well, so I think it's a good car. It kind of falls right in the same area as the Mercedes. So for someone like me, I just happen to like the Mercedes better. I know some people like this car better. It's a little bit more nimble, I would say. The steering feels a little heavier. But as we look at smashing these curbs, it definitely bounces the car around a little bit, but it's not bad at all. So, not the end of the world for that car. Like, it's personal preference for the Mercedes for me. Definitely have more experience in the Mercedes, so for me, it's a no-brainer. That's what I would choose if it was between the two. Next up is the BMW. Okay, the BMW is a pretty easy car to drive. Setup that I run on this is one that Gio and Antonio and Sven would run in IVRA, and they pretty much won everything with it. It's a good car in certain ways. It's kind of goofy in different ways. It's big. It's a really big car, and it's a dump truck in high speeds corners. Not necessarily a bad thing, but it feels worse than it is sometimes. So again, A-pillar is kind of here. I don't know. I think field of view would help it, but yeah. You can see how smooth, like, I'm smashing every curb I can intentionally. And this car just eats it up. It does not care. So I would encourage someone that maybe doesn't get a lot of practice time, that isn't going to be hitting, good apexes all the time. This is a great car. I mean, you can wake up, roll out of bed, and come within a tenth of your personal best. It's just a really easy car to drive. You can run a setup like this one where it gets you a little bit more ass happy and slow speed stuff, but I don't know, it's very non-offensive, even if I'm being an idiot and driving in the grass like that. Yeah, it's like vanilla ice cream. It's very basic, but vanilla ice cream's the most popular ice cream for a reason. And I'm not saying that this is the most popular. I'd say the Mercedes is typically the most popular, but this thing is like a jack of all trades. It's not got the highest top speed. It doesn't have like the best handling. It's just kind of middle of the road for everything. But that's a good thing, I think. Yeah, like, let's go through this one more time. I'm just smashing these curbs. Kind of just weak through that. So yeah, definitely encourage people to check that car out if, I don't know, like you want to be a little bit safer. You like the big car. You like not having to stress about going over curbs. And yeah, it's pretty chill. Next up is a Cayman. I'm going to be the worst judge of the Cayman, just straight away. I'm terrible at it. I'm terrible at it. And I'm not saying it's a terrible car, because there's certainly people that are better than me that whoop my ass in the Cayman. And it's just, I have to work really, really hard for even an average lap time. I do not like this car. I'm actually considering driving it this season to like teach me how to be better at it. So, you know, even though I don't like this car, that doesn't mean that you wouldn't. Lots of people swear by this car, so yeah. This car, A-pillar is a lot farther, so that might be something to think about. One thing this car does not do well, and I felt very uncomfortable with, was going over the curbs. I don't know, there's a couple times it's pretty sketchy if I remember right. We'll check next laps and stuff. And this car feels really good jumping out of corners. Like when you hit a good corner, a little understeer there. The car does like to understeer a little bit, so if you like understeering cars, that's a option for you. But yeah, this car is, I don't know, just not for me. I hate it. I shouldn't say I hate it. I hate how hard I have to work for it. And then I hop in another car and it's so brain dead easy as I airball a corner. So, like I said, don't look at lap times for what I've done. They're not representative of like the actual skill. And we'll talk about balance, like I said, at the end. So, let's see, going through here. That's actually not bad. I thought, oh yeah, okay, that's a little weird. Let me see this one. So I definitely felt weird going over curbs. Yeah, like it's just jumping around a little bit more than I like. And that was kind of a skill issue there. That was me putting a little bit too much input, but at the same time, it's not confidence inspiring. So, yeah, it's a hard sell for me. Let's see, McLaren's next. So the McLaren's a missile. It is kind of like the Audi TCR in the fact that it is very fast in a straight line. It doesn't have the highest top speed, but getting to its top speed, it just runs. It's got some legs on it. So it's a very understeering car, like the Cayman. So the mid-engine car is pretty understeery. So if you like those, you know, maybe you're looking, if you like understeering, I mean, maybe look towards those cars. The biggest weird thing about the McLaren, other than tires, we'll talk about tires in a second, is the brakes. It just feels like the car doesn't want to stop. It's got the weakest brakes, in my opinion. Okay, I was like, why is there no sound? It's got the weakest brakes, in my opinion, and the fastest in a straight line, it seems like. So it's a unique car, for sure. I think it handles the curbs better than the Cayman, for sure. It's kind of the middle of the road. It's not fantastic, but it wasn't bad. Yeah, I think Cayman's also the prettiest car, so if you're into that, get it for that reason. But the real big issue for this car is the tires. This car is a qualifying champ, and it's the easiest to overheat the tires, and once you do, it falls off the most, I would say. Not that you can't still perform well with it, but definitely this car would be what I would say is like your one-lap challenge car. And GT4's in general take 30 seconds to change tires. So it's not something that you're going to be changing tires at pit stops unless unless you're back of the grid or something comes up. Yeah. But other than that, the tires really, I don't know. You gotta just think about it. Part of it's also overheating. So if you get a late caution and there's, 12 minutes to go, yeah, you might be sitting pretty with the tires cooled down a little bit. But at the same time, a long run where you're driving for an hour, driving this car can be a slog. Really can get, like, you feel like you're just doing a lot of work for nothing. Yeah. That's that car. And then last but not least is the Merc. The Merc is going to be the most common car, I believe. It is, I think so, at least, in official racing. It seems like half the cars are Mercedes. And there's a reason for it. It is, if we called the BMW a jack of all trades, it seems like this car is kind of a queen of all trades. It's just slightly better, in my opinion, than the BMW in almost every way. Not curbs, but it's a little bit more nimble, it feels like. And, yeah, I don't know. Just my personal opinion, I think it's a little bit better. Not saying there's not tracks that BMWs aren't better at, and not saying the BMW's bad, but yeah, I think the Mercedes is probably just the overall, all-around best. So yeah, A-pillar for the Cayman was definitely the best of all the cars, you can tell. I thought the AMG, or not AMG, I'm driving the AMG right now, the Aston is the worst. But yeah, that's only for single monitor users. For VR or triple monitors, I don't know, I think they're all completely fine. If the Camaro ever was made, then that'd be a different topic, because those things are terrible for visibility. This car's pretty easy over curbs. I like it a lot. It's, I don't know how to say it over and over. It's like generic, but in a good way in everything it does. It's got good brakes. It's got a good engine. It's got decent handles. The tires wear good. It feels like the most natural to me. So, I'm not going to go over it too much more. There's not a lot to talk about this car. It's just good, Unlike my driving. Watch it go through the curbs one more time. Yeah, I like it. So, real quick, I want to talk about the balance. The balance of the cars is really, really good across the board. I think that for a series, for them to be this close is awesome. And especially over the course of a season, there's going to be cars that are good at certain tracks and bad at certain tracks. But being bad at a track is not the end of the world. It's not going to be like, oh, I'm driving this car, I'm going to get last place when I could have got, 20th or whatever it is. So there's a Discord called iRacing Reports, and this bot scrapes the data and just, you can do balance and then Falcon challenge. I want to preface this by most of these are fixed. Okay, so these are mostly fixed setups that we're going to be looking at. I don't have the patience right now to look for all the ones that are open setup, but you're going to kind of get the gist of it. So for this one, best average lap time at Mooseport, we see the McLaren's the fastest, the AMG's the slowest. And we're going to learn about lying with statistics right now. So first of all, we talked about this is kind of like a one-lap wonder. Remember that these sprint challenge, or these sprints races, especially the fixed ones, they're not an hour long. So what we talked about, this car falling off a little bit more than the other ones, yeah, that's going to rein it in a little bit. Also, if you look at iRating, this is, I'm not sure what exactly this is, but I believe it's like the average of the top iRating drivers that drive it. And so we'll notice that the higher people gravitate towards the car that's the fastest. And that's just because people play that stupid balance game and want to race to what's best. So essentially what I'm saying is, if you took these like 8K drivers and put them in the AMG and the Porsche here, these numbers would be a little bit lower, and so it would be a little bit closer. So even though we're looking at 0.4 of a second, it would probably be closer to 0.2. I don't know, I'm spitballing a guess there, if every person drove every car. And so let's look at a different track. Let's see, that's still Mooseport. That's still season 3. So Misano right here. You can kind of see the same thing. The McLaren's up top. It's the fastest. The AMG is the slowest. The other cars in between. But you see like a really, really big iRating graph drop here. 3,000 versus 8,000. Again, I'm not saying... I don't know. All I'm saying is like these numbers aren't always all the way accurate because of that. Let's find a different track. So this is Watkins Glen. Again, we're talking about fixed setups, and especially as we get to these tracks, you can look. The iRating's really, really low here. It might be early in the week. It might be just a car that doesn't feel good at this track. So is the Porsche going to be almost 3 seconds faster? Of course not. But you can see the Mercedes has pretty much been like 2 or 3 every time. The McLaren was really good, and now it's in the last place almost. The BMW is kind of towards the back, I'd say, on average. Porsche is kind of hit and miss. Sometimes it's really fast, and it seems like the quickest car for sure. Like at Suzuka, I know it's pretty unbeatable there. And then it's last place sometimes. Man. If you keep pulling these up, you'll see just a big variation. Nürburgring, the BMW is the car to go to. Why? Probably because it's got a lot of curbs. I think that's a big part of it, and it's like a decent car. I don't want to sell the BMW short when I say I think it's the worst car. I think it is the most well-rounded car, but doesn't excel in a lot of ways. And so because of that, it's like the worst best, if that makes sense. So, again, we get the McLaren at the bottom. So it's kind of hit and miss if it's a good for the week. And then here we got the Porsche up top. Again, these cars are kind of interchangeable everywhere. It's pretty rare that you're going to see like a AMG at the bottom and a BMW at the top. It's just, I don't know, not really how it goes. But yeah, anyways, that's kind of it for the video. I'm gonna also like type up some stuff that goes along with it. But for the most part, like picking a car is not going to be the reason that you win or lose the championship. It really isn't. Personally, if I was to do a league like IVRA or something like that, I'd pick the AMG for sure. It's just a car I'm comfortable with. I really enjoy driving it. But I'm going to try to branch out a little bit. So I'm probably going to drive the McLaren. I might just drive, I don't know, 20% I'm going to drive this car just to make myself learn it. But yeah, I really don't think you do anything wrong. If you're a beginner, I would highly recommend the BMW. If you're a weirdo, the Porsche. If you like going in straight lines, like this is a perfect Clank car right here, right? Like super fast, poor brakes. Clank should drive that car. Or maybe we should like ban him from driving that car. But yeah. All right. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Later.